Hi, I'm Mike Ignatoski, the creator of the PurpleWolf basketball spreadsheet, the spreadsheet that aims to help you get more enjoyment out of your tabletop basketball projects by doing a lot of the work, if not all the work, of tracking your team and players' game stats and season stats, as well as team standings and schedules. By doing that, you'll get more time to play your games, have more fun, and maybe take on projects that you wouldn't otherwise take on. In this video, I want to talk about what's new in PurpleWolf version 2.1. There's not a lot of new features, but enough that I wanted to put out a new version. So let's see what's new. Here's the list. It's not a long list, but let's just jump into the actual spreadsheet and I'll demonstrate each one of these. So here's my PurpleWolf spreadsheet. I have a historical league season of the 1974 ABA. See, here are my standings. And if I look at this little latest version feature list sheet, let's talk about this first one where it says on the schedule for historical league, single click to open a web page to view the historical game box score on Basketball Reference website. So let's go to my schedule. Here's my schedule. You can see I've got some games played. And if I'm looking to play this Utah-San Diego game next and I wanted to, for my replay, if I wanted to see who played or who started, there's this little new box up here that says view historical box score. And I click that, this simply gives me the instructions of how to do it. And it says, first of all, you can only see this for historical leagues, which makes sense because that's, you're only going to have box scores for historical games. But it can be historical league or team leagues. To view the historical box score, just click the actual or historical score cell for the desired game in column Q. And note that the schedule must be locked to view a box score. Okay, so our schedule you can see over here is locked. Let's say I wanted to look at this Utah-San Diego box score before I played it to see who played in the game or whatever, who started. Here's that actual historic score column Q. Like I said, I just click this. I'll get a prompt asking me if I want to view this box score for the game. And obviously you have to be connected to the internet for this to work. This does not store any of these box scores. It simply opens your browser to this specific box score page. So if I click yes, it opens my browser, opens a new tab, and here's this game between Utah and San Diego. And if I want to scroll down and look at some of the details, see who started, who played as a sub, and how many minutes and whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's all here at your convenience. You can do whatever you want with it. So that is the new historic view historic box score feature. Okay, on to the next feature. Let me use the navigator form here to get there. So what I'm trying to do with each of these new releases is in the miscellaneous, there's a new features button in which just lists the significant features and enhancements in this version. It doesn't list everything that's different, but the main stuff. So that brings us to this latest version feature list. So number 2, on the league leaders, single game leaders, add hover text to display the game where the stat was achieved in the top 3 in the category. Let's take a look at that. So let me go over here to my navigator, go to stats, leaders, and this is the same spreadsheet as before, but the 74 ABA leaders. And as you may or may not know, the leaders on the PurpleWolf have 3 categories. There's the totals, there's the per game, they're in purple, and then there's the single game at the bottom. So if we look, this is featured just in a single game. So this just lists the high in a single game for each of these categories. What's new is if we look at this The top three, you'll see has this little red triangle in the upper corner. That means there's a pop-up note if you hover there. And if I do that here, what this is going to show me is which game this occurred in. So this just says game 31, San Antonio at San Diego. And similarly for any other ones, that's what it tells you. So it's not earth-shattering, but it's, if you wanted to look at a special game where somebody had some kind of standout stat and try to recall which game it was, you could go here to find it. Maybe you wanted to look at that box score or whatever. This is just a convenient way to see where that was. In this initial rollout of this feature, I just do it for the top three. I may do it for all of them in the future. I'm not sure. I wanted to see how much extra time it took to compute the leaders. I don't think it took a lot of extra time, so I may add to this in the future. But for now, you just get the top three to see this game detail of where this particular stat was achieved. Okay, on to the next feature. Let's go back to our feature list sheet. Number 3 says the stats. Add disqualification stat to track game and season totals for players. So this is, I think, pretty straightforward, which is just keeping track of how many times somebody basically fouls out of a game. So that isn't shown on the regular score sheet. It doesn't show. It just shows personal fouls. If I can, well, they're farther over here, but between the personal fouls here and these personal fouls here, they're always the same. But whether or not they foul out, that has to do with what you have set up on your config sheet. So let me go to the score sheet setup. Well, maybe here's more appropriate to say league setup, but on the config, down here, it's in this cell where it says a number of personal fouls that result in a player being disqualified from the game where they foul out. And I think the default is 6. It's kind of like the current NBA value of 6 to foul out, but you can set this to, I don't want to say whatever you want. I think there's a range, maybe from 4 to 10 or something that you can set it to. But typically it'll be 6, but it could vary a little bit depending on what kind of league you're running or in your project. But this is what determines how it computes those disqualifications. And I would say I can't think of a good reason why you'd want to change this in the middle of your project, but it allows you to if you want to. But typically you're going to have this set at the beginning and just leave it alone because it's not going to change throughout your project. So anyway, if we go to the stats sheets, like the player game log, you'll see now over here on the right, at the near the very end, after the triple doubles, is where it computes the DQ or the disqualification. So you can see down here, this first one was Travis Grant, and he had 6 fouls. So that's why he got a disqualification. And similarly, it's in the team game log. How many players got disqualified? It's in the player's season stats. This DQ here. It's not in the team season stats. It's still how many players got disqualified for the team. I didn't think that was that necessary. But it is in the leaders also. So in the totals, I believe, is really where it is. Right here. And this actually took the place of what was formerly flagrant fouls. So I decided to remove flagrant fouls. I'm not sure how many games even track that. So I replaced it with this disqualifications of fouling out, that it might be more applicable. So that's the new disqualification stat feature. The last feature I want to talk about is number 4, which is kind of a few things under the hood. It has to do with the workflow for manual entry game stats. So if we go to the score sheet, here I have a game where I have set up for manual entry. And if I jump over here, you can see I put in the first quarter score for the Utah Stars in this game. That's all I put in. But what I wanted to show was over here on the score sheet, if I view the scorebook here, if now I wanted to change the stat mode back to the event logger instead, it will now say, hey, it looks like you're entering the stats, and you have to clear those out before you're going to change this mode, because it seems like you're in the middle of it. And what I also added was this button right here that wasn't in 2.0. It says clear the manual entry game stats table. So if you maybe started putting some stats in but realized that you really wanted to replay this game instead of enter these results, or you were actually entering in the wrong game, or whatever it is that you wanted to bail out, this will give you that option to bail out. If I click this, it'll confirm with me. And when I say yes, you'll see it'll erase this. It'll erase all the numbers, but this is the only one I have in here right now. Yeah. So double check. And then it'll tell me that I've cleared it out. And now I can go back over to the scorebook if I wanted to and switch my modes and go to the event logger if I want to. So that's a pretty minor thing, but it's just a way to kind of help you from accidentally either making a mistake and erasing your half-entered manual stats, so you don't lose any work. So it's just a way to kind of make it a few more guardrails on entering those stats manually. And that wraps up the main features in 2.1. Again, there's not a lot, but a few I wanted to get them out there for people to use. That wraps up this PurpleWolf basketball spreadsheet video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to box out.